When Kathy was accepted into the astronaut program, she called her mother to tell her that it happened and she was going. And her mother said, "Why couldn't you get a job on land?" Hi, I'm Meredith Bagby. I wrote The New Guys about the first class of astronauts to include women and people of color. Kathy Sullivan was one of the first 6 women to be chosen by NASA to be an astronaut. She also happens to be the first American woman to do a spacewalk. So Kathy was very precocious when she was young. At some point in her college years, she got turned on to geology and to science. Kathy had a tough upbringing. When she was 12, her grandmother passed away. And this tragedy triggered a change in her mom, who never got out of depression after that. Kathy and her brother had to take care of her mother. And so Kathy emotionally grew up very quickly. And as a result, she was the kind of person who could handle anything. She was tough under pressure, which made her perfect for NASA and perfect for spacewalking. Her brother, who was a pilot, told her that NASA was open to women. And she thought to herself, hey, this is just a research vessel. Instead of the ocean, it's in space. And it sounds like something that I would love. And so she applied. And when she met with George Abbey, I think it was very clear to him that she had the whole package. She wasn't afraid of hard work. When Kathy was accepted into the astronaut program, she called her mother to tell her that it happened and she was going. And her mother said, "Why couldn't you get a job on land?" And the next day, her mother rethought and called Kathy back and said, "It would have meant the world to me if I had had the support of my mother, and you have mine." All 6 women understood that the first woman in space was going to be a big deal. You were going to be on the cover of magazines. You were going to go down in the history book, and Kathy was no different. But she also realized that it was part popularity contest. Kathy and Sally Ride had a friendly, sometimes unfriendly competition with each other. And Kathy tells a story about how Kathy wanted to train on the robotic arm, which was something that was inside the shuttle that would help launch satellites and other vehicles. Sally was the kind of pro on the robotic arm and maybe didn't want anybody else to become an expert at it because that was her thing. Kathy was training on the robotic arm and all of a sudden the whole thing went dead. She looked around and she saw that it had been unplugged and Sally was smiling. So one of my favorite missions is the first time 2 women went up together into space, and it was Sally and it was Kathy. This was an important mission because it was Kathy's first time, was also the first time that an American woman was going to do a spacewalk. Normally you would find out from George Abbey, but in this particular instance, Sally took the initiative and called Kathy and let her know that she was going to be on the flight with her. And it was an interesting hierarchy because in some ways it meant that Sally was getting this information before Kathy had it. So Kathy's mom passed away 2 years before her flight, and she didn't get to see her little girl go to space, but Kathy's father stayed in mission control as Kathy was doing her first spacewalk, and he got to watch her biometrics as she took her first foray into space. He watched her heartbeat, which was a cool 70 beats per minute, and he thought, that's my little girl, always cool under pressure.